Hey everyone, it's Bill Atkins. I hope you're having a great day. This video is long overdue, and so this is my 50 watt blue and white CO2 laser, not to be confused with the diode lasers. So the CO2s are the 50 watt category, the 60 watt category, and I believe Eurohome now has a 100 watt that they're offering on their website. I got the smallest of the three. There's also a 40 watt. But it does use different technology, and it definitely uses different software. So what I'm covering really applies to the 50, the 60, and the 100. If you're not sure, your 3018 or your 6550, those are diode lasers. I know some of you are very interested in upgrading. You're like I was last year. I did have a 6550, and as soon as I got that thing paid off, I started thinking about upgrading. And there are some advantages, but the 6550 can definitely do some things that the bigger CO2s cannot. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's what I wanna walk you through. When you buy it, it's pretty much assembled for you. I'm walking around to the back. You can see it comes with this little air compressor, okay? It's not even a compressor. This right here, this black exhaust, that was added by me. It's a 6-inch inline. It just kind of blows the exhaust further out. You can see I've got it venting out of my garage. My weather here is not horrible. I don't have a chiller yet. Something I'm certainly considering getting. But most of the time, our temperature in the DC area is hovering right around 30 to 35 to 40 degrees. So we're certainly not in jeopardy. Back here, you'll see the two water lines and the air line. And I'm gonna duck under here. That's where my water is. I usually keep about 3 gallons of distilled water in there. And I change it maybe every week and a half, every 2 weeks. I haven't really had any real issues walking again around the lasers. So your water pump that's inside that Home Depot bucket and your air assist get plugged in here, and then the main power supply, which is right there. This is for a ground wire, which obviously homes in the United States are already grounded. So I did not have to attach. It actually came with a large grounding rod. Walking over here to this control panel, you've got my USB cable. You can see it runs all the way to the computer. You can also see, now that I'm pointed there, the battery backup. It's small, but it's just enough to allow me to shut something down if I have power problems. Nice thing about where I live is the vast majority of power lines are underground, so very rarely do we actually lose power. Okay, so here's the main control. This is for the laser itself. Then you've got the water pump and the air assist. Okay, so if I turn this on, you'll see I don't have the air on right now, but then I can flip each one on and off. All right, I'm gonna keep that on with air assist off. Now I'm gonna show you the actual laser. All right, I tell the folks that come over that wanna visit me, this thing is literally right out of Star Wars, okay? So I think it's 800 millimeters in length. All right, there's the red wire that if you touch, you will most likely die. Sorry. There's the grounding wire. And the thing with these lasers are everything's pointed at a mirror. Unlike the diode lasers where the laser head moves and the laser goes directly to the material, here it doesn't. It's directed by a series of 3 mirrors. So what you see, that black frame with the kind of copper dials, that's mirror number 1. Okay. Open up here. It's nice and lit. So there's mirror number 2. All right. And then mirror number 3 is right on top of the laser head. And there's the nozzle, okay? Now if I just kind of bring this over here a little bit, all right, you'll see there's my air assist and the red light pointer, okay? It's obviously not on. So the red light pointer right there kind of shows me where my project is going. Over here is the Reuter control panel, and then obviously the emergency stop. So when you buy one of these, like I said, it pretty much comes pre-assembled. You've got to hook up the exhaust tube, no big deal. You've got to run the water line and the air line, but again, that's not really that big of a deal. You're kind of up and running right away. What you have to do, and I'm telling you, it's difficult, is you have to align the mirrors, okay? And I will show you how to align the mirrors later on towards the end of this video. All right, so before I get into some of the maintenance, show you how to do the mirrors, some of the maintenance that you do have to do on these CO2s, because it is quite a bit of maintenance, I'll be honest. I wanted to walk you through some of the upgrades. I showed you the inline fan. I like this thing. It's really, really quiet. I can control it, so if there's not a lot of fumes, I don't really need it. But I've got this little dial over here. You should be able to hear it come on. So I can control that as I need to. So that was one of the things. The other thing, you'll notice a very dirty aluminum bed. The 50 watts do not come with a honeycomb bed. I know the 60s and above do, right? So honestly, I keep some good old, let's show you here, some good old Easy Off. Spray that on, forget about it for about 10 minutes, and it's as good as new, pretty much. But what I did do is I bought this honeycomb bed that I can kind of remove. It's pretty much the exact size of my bed, but the honeycombs kind of give you, I don't know if you can really see, it gives you some depth and some airflow. I still, when I do my projects, I still kind of prop them up off the honeycomb bed, because the big advantage with the CO2s, which you don't really get with the diodes, is cutting. All right. So this pile here is no joke. That pile there is everything that was cut out. And those are the leftover scraps from all my projects. Now, here's kind of the crappy fails or some of the pieces that I think I can reuse. So what ends up happening for me, because I cut out a lot of frames, is I usually get the inside of the frames. So this whole pile right here is nothing more than the inside of frames that I can use for my smaller projects. So I really get a lot out of my wood. I would say for a $30 quarter-inch 4x8 birch plywood sheet, I can almost get about $1,000 out of that sheet. Excuse my finger there. Okay, so let's go back to the machine. All right, so I showed you the honeycomb bed. I showed you the inline. Now, what I want to show you are these guys. Okay, I went ahead and upgraded my lens. This right here, this is the lens that came with the machine. All right. It was fine, but I wanted to get into deeper cutting. So I found a company that has these upgraded lenses. This is a 2.5-inch lens. This is a 4-inch lens. And honestly, I'm still using their 1.5-inch lens. And what I also did is I upgraded the laser pointer so that now each lens actually has its own laser pointer. And I can actually, sorry, I can't do this one-handed. I'll try. I can actually unplug when I unplug the lens, I can actually unplug the laser pointer, just kind of take the whole thing with me, right? And then when I put the new lens on, all I have to do, I'm gonna put it down real quick, sorry. I'm not a video guy, so you'll have to forgive me. And I also probably ramble. You'll have to forgive that too. So the biggest upgrade for me were these lenses, okay? Now we'll talk about some of the maintenance. All right, so I've got the machine on. What I want to try to show you to do is when you get the machine, you really want to do a mirror alignment test, and you have to do it for all three mirrors. So basically what you're going to do is if you come over here to the back, all right, you're going to put some tape over that frame where that circle is, just some masking tape, and you're going to fire a low power pulse, right? 10-15%. You don't need the laptop for this because from your controller, you see you've got pulse, that's what you're going to hit. You can control speed, min power, and max power all from the controller, all right? And then origin frame. I don't use the controller much except for when I want to align the mirrors. I'm only going to show you at mirror number 3. I'm going to assume mirror number 1 is already lined up. I'm going to assume this is lining up mirror number 2. Okay. So once you line up that, then you would tape over here, and you want to tape the frames. You don't want to tape it directly on the mirror, and you want to do it at low power because you'll catch the tape on fire, honestly. So here we go. I forget what I am, 10-15%. I had a little pulse. Okay. Now, if I back away, I could see the smoke, all right, but it was very faint. So let me try to do it again. All right, like I said, I'm only at 15% power. See if we can get, all right, there it is. So let's back away, okay? And you can see pretty much right in the middle. You don't actually have to be right in the middle. It helps, but you just have to be in the same spot. So now I hit pulse again. Let's see what happens. Okay. I literally nailed the exact same spot. So what that tells me is that mirror is dead on. Now, just to be safe, let's move it all the way to the other side of the bed. All right, and let's hit pulse. I'm trying to stay away from it because I've definitely burnt my hand before. Once again, I hit pulse and I'm dead on. So I know for a fact that mirror is literally dead on, okay? I also can tell you, first 2 or 3 times I did mirror alignments, probably took me 2 days because these adjustments, right, are very micro adjustments. And trying to figure out how to get the angle and the geometry right, I'm not a geometry guy, so for me this was very difficult. For you guys, it may be pretty easy. So in order to line up mirror number 3, you actually don't need tape for this one, okay? Now, with my lens, what they told me was, and we'll get into a ramp test later, what they told me was the distance that I need to be from the nozzle, keep in mind the lens is up here, but the nozzle to the material is the width of a AAA battery, okay? So what I do is I go in there and I just measure and then I pull it away. Some of you have measuring tools, some of you made your own, okay? But when you do the ramp test, you're gonna notice something. Now, let's hit pulse, okay? Let me back it away just so you can see it. Okay, now I'm hitting the red dot, so you're not gonna be able to see the pulse, or at least not for the first one, okay? What I need to do is I'm actually gonna start a little bit close. So I've moved it up. I'm gonna hit pulse. I held it for a second. Now I'm gonna back away. I'm gonna hit pulse again. Back away. So now you can see the dot. Pulse again, okay? As I get further away, you'll notice it out of focus and getting a little bit bigger. That's fine, but I know mirror 3 is perfectly aligned because I'm hitting the exact same spot every single time. I am now, I don't know if you can tell, I'm now about 2 inches away as opposed to the width of a AAA battery. And I'm dead on. So I showed you how to align mirror 2 by putting tape up here. This is how to align mirror number 3. All right, so what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna run a ramp test. All right, so I've got the mirrors completely dialed in. I'm very happy. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a line. I'm gonna draw it in light burn, which is what I use. I'm just gonna take this piece of scrap. All right, trust me, I got plenty of scrap. And I'm gonna make a ramp. Okay, so I've got this leveling tool. I'm gonna make a ramp and I'm just gonna move everything right there. Now for this, I am gonna turn on the air assist. Okay, so it's gonna get a little bit loud. Now, before I turn on the air assist, I apologize. I'm gonna make the nozzle pretty close to the material. So I'm gonna make the nozzle pretty close to the material. Hard to see, but it is way inside that I'm gonna almost touch it, okay? So I'm about 1 millimeter away. Hard to see, but you'll have to trust me. I'm gonna turn the air on because now I'm gonna fire the laser and I'm gonna draw a line. And what I'm trying to do right now is it's gonna get thick, thin, and then thick again. All right. So there you can see, and I'm running it very slow. You can see the smoke coming out. All right. And you can also start to see the line get pretty thin. Now, what I'm looking for is the thinnest part of the line, and that is my ideal focus. Now, they tell me, like I said before, it's the width of a AAA battery. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. I'm now just in that AAA battery range, okay? Now I'm much higher than the AAA battery. And let's see what happens at the end of this line. I'm fully aware that I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. I actually don't need that second line. Okay. I'm fully aware I'm doing this with the cover open. I don't profess to have the best safety habits. Okay. But here's what we're looking at. That's where we started. That's clearly out of focus. We go down, and you can see it start to get thick again. So what I'm looking at is somewhere in this range right here, okay? Now, every laser is going to have a margin of error. What I would do, honestly, is take the middle of what your eye can no longer see. So for me, bear with me. All right. For me, I'm looking at somewhere between here and here. All right. That's what my eye sees. All right. Maybe there. So I'm looking right there as my focal point. So now what I can do is bring the laser back. You can see I got it on the red dot laser. That's what I'm measuring. All right, so let me try to get down in here so that you can actually see. Sorry about that. That's the distance I'm going to measure. All right, so sorry about the hand there. I was going to measure it with a caliper, but I wanted to go ahead and show you this. So I haven't moved anything. Handy dandy AAA battery. And when you go and slide it, you'll see that I am pretty much at the exact width of the AAA battery. So the good news is you can actually do that ramp test with the diode lasers, with the CO2 lasers. It really helps to dial in and get the absolute best focus that you can get. So the last thing I want to go over with the CO2 lasers, and hopefully you, if anything, have found this remotely intriguing. If you found it boring, I'm sorry. I'm not a video person, but I do the best I can, is the maintenance, okay? You definitely want to make sure that you're changing your water. Now, if you're in more extreme climates, extreme hot, extreme cold, if it's extreme hot, you got to get a chiller. Okay, that water, and I have filled the bucket before and it has felt warm. I don't have a thermometer in a bucket. That's one of the upgrades I need to get. I don't have an amp meter yet, but that is one of the upgrades that I need to get. Just because your laser can go at 100% power, that doesn't mean your power supply can actually handle it. So you do at some point want to get an amp meter and measure. That's why I personally don't ever go over 75% for power if I can avoid it. If it's a short burn, I'll go at 80%. I don't ever go higher than 80%, okay? Just because I'm afraid of blowing out the power supply. Now, getting back to the maintenance. You got to change your water every couple of weeks. Algae will grow in there. You got to make sure if, like I said, you're in too hot of an environment, you buy a third-party chiller, or you're constantly throwing ice inside your bucket. You got to keep that water pure. So I have had issues. I've definitely blown a tube, laser tube already. Okay. And one of the things I didn't go over when you set this up and when you run the water through it, okay, Alban will remember this one, I'm sure, is you got to make sure you get all the air bubbles out. The water's not running right now. Okay, the first time I blew a tube, right there at that corner, I had a giant air bubble and I didn't realize it was causing a problem. That air bubble was deflecting the laser beam and it ultimately ruined the tube. So you have to worry about that. I'm trying to think. The air assist is not very good. So if you are trying to do deep cuts, then you probably want to upgrade your air assist. And as far as the bed is concerned, I showed you the easy off trick. Now, what you'll see also is, let me open and get in here. Obviously, this needs to be cleaned out on a regular basis. You can see like a lot of the cut particles that I have in there. Now, if you are interested in a CO2, okay, here's my recommendation. Skip the 40. If you've got money, get the 60. I wish I had the 60, I'll be quite honest. There's a couple of things that the 60 has that the 50 does not. First is the automated or the electric Z-axis. Okay, for me, especially if I'm doing a rotary project, I have to turn this by hand and it takes a while, hurts your wrist, the whole 9 yards. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, you see this door right here. Well, you get all excited, you think it's a pass-through. It's not a pass-through. It's just covering the frame, okay? The 60 has a pass-through, so you can actually put larger material inside the 60 and be able to get the Z-axis down to it in order to do wood that's much larger than your bed. Speaking of the bed, the 60 has a much larger bed. My workable is 300 by 500. For all intents and purposes, that's 12 inches by 20 inches. The 60 inch has a 20 inch by 28 inch bed. I have personally turned down projects that were worth a couple of $100 because they wanted the project larger than I was able to handle. Okay, so this machine's already paid off, so I'm not really worried about it at this point. But at some point, I will be looking at the 60 or the 100. Now, couple of caveats. I've made a lot of mistakes. Okay, I've told you I've already burned a laser tube because I didn't get the air bubbles out. I've already cracked a lens, or actually I marred the lens. It wasn't actually cracked. It was that spare lens that you saw earlier. That was because I was running some tile and paint projects without the air assist, and some dirt got onto it. The laser hit the dirt and messed up the lens. That was the real reason why I upgraded my lenses. You have to be careful. I know I don't close the bed when I run wood projects. I kind of like to watch them, but you do have to be careful when you're aligning the mirrors, because I'm not kidding when I said I was, one day I leaned over, hit the pulse, and didn't realize that my hand was in between mirror 2 and mirror 3, and burned a nice little hole in my pinky because I wasn't being careful. Had I had that on 90 power, I probably would have lost my finger. So you do have to be careful. These machines are no joke. They are a lot of fun. You can tell I cut a ton of projects. I've been able to, here's one that I'm working on right now. You can see all those little pieces are cut out. Even the road is cut out. So the projects are amazing. I remember when I was doing the 6550, I would have to do everything in Inkscape. I would have to make Inkscape the size of my project. I would have to hand cut or saw the wood and then route the edges to make it look nice. Now I cut the wood, I cut the frames, I cut the backing, and I put everything together. So it really has been a time saver. I don't really know what else to go over. Maybe next time I can kind of go over Lightburn a little bit. But once I post this video, hit me up with questions. I'm happy to do whatever I can to help everybody out. Peace out.